Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Hines, the Sarge, reporting for duty, and a happy Kentucky Derby week to you all out there. I know it's an exciting time. It is for all of us, and of course, we're still on the ultimate high with Authentic having won the Kentucky Derby. It seems like it was that long ago, but essentially it really wasn't that long ago. It was September 5th. That's right, the first Saturday in September, and Authentic will essentially be the shortest reigning Kentucky Derby champion, of course, going on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic and to take home Horse of the Year. I am happy to be joined today by a gentleman of sport, an ambassador of our industry, and one of the greatest riders of all time, Hall of Fame jockey, John Velazquez. Good day, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, Johnny, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Johnny. I can just tell you that this past year for all of us has been, quite a challenge. And I know myself on a personal level, but on a grander scale, as we come into this Saturday, the Run for the Roses, of course, the greatest 2 minutes of sports, take us back to last summer, of course, and we weren't even quite sure that the Kentucky Derby was going to take place. But in light of the year, the COVID-19 pandemic, what were some of the challenges that you went through as a rider?
Well, obviously, with the pandemics and being basically prohibited to fly in different places, so we, in the summertime, especially, we were at Saratoga, so we were not allowed to get out to go anywhere, and try to ride these races, prep races, leading to the Kentucky Derby. It seems everything's changed, and the Derby was so late in the year. So it was a hard part of the year because those are the opportunities when you move out from where you are in the summertime, trying to find the good horses leading to the Derby. So yeah, it was very difficult, and obviously with no fans and not having fans at the races, so it made it a very strange year. Very, very strange summer though. So. But at least we were running, we were working. Fans were watching from TV. They were betting, and racing went on.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was kind of a scene, if you will, from the Twilight Zone. If you remember that show, I'm sure that you've seen certain episodes from yesteryear. But as the summer evolved, and once it was determined that the Kentucky Derby was going to take place the first Saturday in September, I know that you and your agent, Ron Anderson, of course, you were in a position of trying to establish a Kentucky Derby mount. At what point did Authentic come into the equation? We know that he had finished second, or he won the Betfair Haskell under Mike Smith. At what point did it come into conversation for you to ride Authentic for our Hall of Fame trainer, Bob Baffert?
Well, right before the Haskell, we were already talking to him. If the horse run really well or win the race, we knew that Mike Smith was going to be committed to some of the horse in the race, and right. We would like to have the opportunity to ride him. And once he won, and we knew, a few days later that Mike was already committed and he was gonna stay, and the commitment they had prior to win on him. My agent and Matt were talking, about the race and that we definitely would love to, get an opportunity to ride him. That's how I got the mount.
Yeah, that horse, of course, for jockey Mike Smith being Honor AP, a horse whom he had committed to even likely prior to the Haskell as far as the Kentucky Derby was concerned. So here comes the first Saturday in September, if you will. You've already produced 2 Kentucky Derby victories in recent time aboard Always Dreaming for trainer Todd Pletcher. Prior to that, aboard Animal Kingdom. So it seemed as if the A's were in your favor here with Authentic. You get them out for Bob Baffert, and here comes the anticipation. So as you are coming into that race, what was going through your mind as far as, okay, I'm riding this horse. He's coming off of a race in which many felt he was gassed, because if you go to the social media and those the pundits out there, they felt that this horse would have been lucky to get a mile and a 16th, much less a mile and a quarter. So for the anticipation of this race, what was going through your mind, and with your conversation with Bob Baffert, what was the plan of attack?
We talked about it right from the get-go, from right after the Haskell. Though, we thought the horse won a really great race. He has his little quirks here and there. Obviously, he's still very mature, even winning that race. After that, a week went by, and the horse started training, and Bob started getting very confidence on him that he seems like to maturing and being much better. They told me that watch the prior races that he ran in California because he the things that he can do, and that he didn't want any surprises. And I told Bob, I've been watching this horse from day one. I already know what he's done, and I've been watching those races, and I think I'm going to trust you. You're going to have him ready, for the Derby, and that's what I'm going for. But I was excited to have the opportunity to ride for Bob in a horse like this, and knowing talking to him prior to the Derby that he was excited that he was working really really well. Once we got to Kentucky and we talked about it in a couple of nights, Jeff Ruby's, and just then making a plan what we would do from the position that we had at the time. And I said to him, I just don't like where I am because we're the last one getting there in the gate. Most of the time, eight out of 10, they don't break very well for whatever reason. And the plans were that we need to be on the lead. And I said to him, well, I can be in the lead, but if I break slow, I'm going to do it gradually. I'm not going to go out of there and gun him out of there and run off, for the first quarter of a mile and go in 21 and change just to get to the lead. And it was plenty speed in the race as well. And I was like, if he breaks slow, I'm just going to go little by little until I get to the first turn and I see where I'm going to end up. I mean, and obviously it happened the way we thought about it. He broke a little slow. The speed kind of developed a little bit in front of me. Once I passed the wire, and I was on the first turn, I knew that I was comfortable the way he was doing, the way he was moving going into the turn. And once we got to the turn, I got to the lead. And really, I was happy the way he was doing things, and he was already on the bridle. He was taking me where I wanted to be. He was doing comfortable. By the time we got to the half a mile pole, I just kind of let him do his thing, kind of let him encourage him a little bit, just to pay attention a little bit, because he kind of got distracted and around the turn, right before the turn. And when the horses started getting coming to me, and then I remember looking for Franco's horse. Obviously, he was the favor. And when I saw the white face, I was like, well, here it is. I mean, this is going to be a two-horse race. And the way I thought the race was going to chip up. And once we got to the quarter pole, we hooked up from the quarter pole on, and Bob talking, with me at Jerry Ruiz, it says, like, just make sure you put your whip in left-handed. Make sure you get his attention. And sure enough, I mean, when I went left-handed and I went after him, he responded really, really well. And by the eight pole, the other horse is not passing me, and I knew that my horse was giving me everything he could at the time. And Bob says, make sure from the eight pole to the wire, it's all you here. So you got to bring him home. So I'm concentrated on the horse, and the horse is giving me everything he can. And I look into my side, and the horse is just going to stay in there and authentic, keep fighting. And by the 16th pole, I knew, man, he was going to continue fighting for that wire. And I was very proud that he did, and very proud to be a part of it.
I'm going to have you hold that thought, Johnny, because the emotion I'm sure that you were feeling at that point in time, eerily different, I'm sure, from Derby's past, in which you'd won, as mentioned, aboard the likes of Animal Kingdom and Always Dreaming. I want to welcome in your Hall of Fame trainer, Bob Baffert, and the fact that you had that Jeff Ruby's conversation that night. Quickly, I wanted to know who picked up the tab. Bob Baffert, welcome to My Racehorse Live.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late, boys, but yeah, it was. We were there for a couple nights. Jeff Ruby's. That's our headquarters. For the Derby. So Mike Smith, everybody was in there, but it was. We were looking at different scenarios, and Johnny, he's just he's such a professional, and he's just not only Hall of Fame rider and all that, but guys like him, Mike Smith, all the great riders, you really don't have to have much of a conversation with them. You just tell them about your horse, the little quirks he might have, and they work it out. I mean, they know what to do. And when I went to sleep that night, the night before, I wasn't worried about what kind of ride I was going to get or anything, because I knew I had the master on him. And if the horse shows up And if he's ready and he's good enough, he'll be there for him. If he's not, then he couldn't get a hold of the track. That's always our excuse. You know that, Sarge. When they don't fire, oh, he couldn't get a hold of the track. It was terrible.
Right.
But that's all we can say. But you could tell it was. I've been fortunate to win 6 of these, but that was probably on Johnny's part the most masterful ride. Everything he said he was going to do, it came to fruition. I said, we need to be on the lead with this horse, and if you can figure out a way, I don't know how you can do it, just map out. And he did it. He just stayed away, and he sort of caught everybody off guard, and he came over, but he had the horse. He had the horse to do it with.
Absolutely.
And that's the main thing. You have to have the horse to do it with. And he believe me, he had the best horse, and big, long striding horse like him. He was just getting over the ground, but long stride. And when he turned for home, he had him in a position to win. And with Tizelaw, we had a lot of respect for him. When Manny Franco looked over his shoulder, turning for home, I thought, oh boy, we're in trouble. He, when the rider does that, he just wants to see if anybody else is coming, because he knows he's got the guy in front of him. And I thought right there he was going to go right by me, and then Johnny was waiting on him, and when he came to him, Johnny just went to work on him, encouraged him, and so I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, wow, look at this horse. He's got some gears that we didn't know he had, and he just kept on running. But that's because it turned out he was the best horse.
The interesting part, Bob, and obviously this is something in this era, of course, in this decade, you won multiple Triple Crowns. It's to say you won one is magical, but the fact that you won 2, in light of what we had dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, the fact that Authentic will be the shortest reigning Kentucky Derby champion, how would you put this particular victory with Authentic in a different light? Not to mention the fact that you had 5,000 shareholders, not only on Authentic's back, your back, but Johnny V's back, every part of that quarter-mile stretch run home.
Well, the year was, it was a crazy year, but it was a crazy 30 minutes, Sarge. I had that horse fell over on his side in the paddock saddling. Jimmy breaks his arm. It was just going downhill. And all of a sudden, Johnny comes out. I said, Johnny, do it for Jimmy, will you? Well, I don't, just, do your thing, and let's hope, At that point, I thought, wow, what else could go wrong? And then he wins the race, and what else could go wrong is that Bob Baffert's laying on his back in the winner's circle. That's what could go wrong. And so, but you know what? I'd throw myself, I'll get knocked down just to get back in that winner's circle. I'll do it again.
Yeah, no, I can't even, as far as put it into words, as far as the moment, because I was here in Southern California and just seeing it on television from tip to tail. And I wanted to ask Johnny, I've heard, the verdict when you're on a horse's back in the Kentucky Derby, it's essentially a wall of sound. Tell me, as you turned for home aboard Authentic, what was going through your mind, and could you hear? I mean, obviously there were some fans there, but it was far and away different from previous derbies that you had won, correct? I mean, eerily different.
Absolutely, very, very different. But I may add, like, something that Bob was saying. It's like, we can plan all we want. If we don't have the horse underneath of us, it's not going to work out. Things are going to work out just because you have the horse, and the horse allow you to do the things you want to do. By saying that, coming to the quarter pole, if we are, and by winning 2 prior to this one, if you are in the game and you are in contentions, you kind of zone out everything, though. You don't hear the crowd, even if the crowd is still there. I mean, I can remember winning the first one, the second one was the same way. You're in contention, you forget about who's there. You're only thinking about who's the competition, who's next to you, and how far, is the wire, where it is. Like, am I going to win it, though? So those things, it's kind of similar, even though that we had a weird year that the fans were not there. It's silence anyway. And for me, I was so concentrated on my horse and the horse right next to me that I forgot about everything else. I was just me and the horse, and trying to get that horse beat and the outside of me. And the horse did everything. I mean, everything I asked him to do, he did it. He responded for everything that we wanted to do. You couldn't ask for anything better when you're on top of the horse like this, like authentic, and you ask him for everything he has and he's giving it to you. You couldn't be any more proud, you know. I mean, and for me, as I'm older now, obviously, than the first two I won. More emotional. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm older. I appreciate it more, and having the horse responded for everything you asked him for. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I think about it. I get the goosebumps. I get emotional about it. I'm just glad that I was part of the whole team, and thanks for Bob and thank and everybody else that gave me the opportunity.
Bob, I remember growing up, obviously being a horse racing fan, and my father having been a horse owner, and was fortunate enough to have had a horse with the late, great Charlie Whittingham. Upon my father's passing in 1985, my mother's selection in the 1986 Kentucky Derby was Ferdinand. And, I kind of laughed. I'm like, Mom, this horse has no chance. But I remember prior to that, Charlie Whittingham had kind of alluded to the fact that the Kentucky Derby was, quote unquote, just another race. And obviously that whole mindset changed after he'd won with Ferdinand and then eventually going on to win with Sunday Silence. But for you, growing up in Nogales, Arizona, a quarter horse trainer, the Kentucky Derby, at what point in your career as a trainer did it enter into your mind?
It really never entered my mind till I started training at Santa Anita, but really didn't enter my mind till probably when I had Cavalier, maybe. That was in 96. I never thought it was going to happen. And I think my first Derby I ever saw on television was Canonero II. I was in 1971, I think. And I watched Pleasant Colony, and, we'd catch here and there. But, it was, I followed in the newspapers. I'd follow, Secretariat, watch him win Belmont. But then I'd get away from it, and wouldn't even think about it. So it was never, I loved quarter horses, and, I followed quarter horse racing, and that was it. And so, but I knew that the thoroughbred racing was never, it was such a far out, to me, it'd be like, thinking when you're growing up, you're going to be like an actor or something, or in a big movie. It was never even a dream or anything.
It's amazing. Johnny V, as far as you, having come from Puerto Rico, I believe, what was it, back in 1990? Was the Kentucky Derby a race that when you were growing up in Puerto Rico that you had dreamed of winning someday? I mean, it was something that you even thought possible?
In my end, I was never around the racetrack, so I didn't know very much about the racetrack. I was around horses, but like the farm horses and pleasure horses and stuff like that. So I didn't follow racing until 1988 that I went to the jockey school in Puerto Rico. That I got into racing and follow racing. So I didn't know very much about racing or even Kentucky Derby, though. I remember in the summer of '88, got in, and it was a big races. I think I was the Belmont. I think it was the Belmont. Yeah, was at Isidore in. I think it was '88, right? '88, '89. I think one of those races. That's what actually got me into racing. Then it was the summer. I got into the jockey school, and I watched this race, and it was the Belmont. And all of a sudden, I got my interest into it. Or even that I was just in jockey school, I didn't know very much about racing, and that's what got me really follow racing and done. So, talking about Derby now, I mean, I never even thought about that I'll be in New York or anywhere else. Thinking that I would just want to ride horses. I want to get my license and want to ride in Puerto Rico and see where it took me. So yeah, not until I got to New York and started learning about racing and winning races, and then you start winning races and say, oh, this is a thing that I can do for a living. This is a thing that and I had to learn. So it took me at least 3 or 4 or 5 years thinking about a Kentucky Derby. Yeah,
that's amazing. It's amazing because both perspectives. Of course, it was not something that essentially came into fruition until you found your stride in both professions as a trainer, evolving from a quarter horse trainer onto a thoroughbred trainer. Of course, Johnny Velazquez, both Hall of Famers. Well, gentlemen, just one final question for you. And of course, this Saturday, you'll be teaming up with Medina Spirit, a horse that I feel has more than a puncher's chance. The lack of respect for a Hall of Fame connection to be 15-1 in the morning line kind of leads me to the window. But in so many words, the victory with Authentic, Bob Baffert, can you put that into perspective for us?
Well, I think we're actually it's a different scenario. Authentic was more of a proven horse coming into this. He'd won the Haskell. He was one of my top horses. Medina is a fighter. He just fights. He's right there. He's doing well. He's going over the track well. I think the California horses look really, really good. I've been watching them all train. I think John Sadler's horse, Rock Your World, looks great out there. Doug's Hot Rod Charlie looks great. And I think the California horses are going to be tough, and the strip here is so much quicker, Sarge, than California. These horses are just floating over this surface over here. And so I think that makes a big difference. And I think Authentic, I was training him at Del Mar on that deep racetrack that we had there. And when he came to Churchill, I think it was an edge coming, train on a heavy surface, and we got on a fast surface. And when you have that, you have a really fit horse and a really good horse, it gives you a little bit of an edge.
Johnny?
Well, obviously we have a different horse this year, like Bob said. I think they're not giving us credit. I think I like the horse. I think he's run 2 good races. Obviously, was second to Bob's other horse. He never made it to the Derby, which he would thought. Watching him, he probably would be the favorite if he was running in the Derby. Then Rock the World, who came in and went to the lead, never stopped. So one of those things that you don't expect. And the horse is running really good races, though. And I think he's showing up every dance. I think if he come back here and he puts those kind of races, those 2 kind of races they run in California, I think he has a really good chance.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. And Bob, Johnny, really appreciate your time on behalf of all of us here at My Racehorse. We wish you the best of luck this weekend. Unfortunately, again, this is the shortest turnaround for any Kentucky Derby winner that we've had. Essentially, what is it going to be, 8 months to celebrate? I know that we have, and we'll continue to do so. And we look forward to having another Derby horse with the both of you going postward to the first Saturday in May.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy your night, and hopefully Bob will pick up that tab at Jeff Ruby when I join the crowd. Right?
I'll see you later tonight.